Hi, everyone. At least one person has died after a plane crash in Kentucky.
It happened in a wooded area just northwest of Hopkinsville.
News Channel 5's Emily Luxon is at the scene where investigators are working to learn more about just what caused this crash. Emily.
Well, that's right. Now, sheriff's deputies are going through the wreckage right now, trying to learn more. At this point, they are confirming at least one person was killed, but they are working to determine if there were more victims. Now, the crash happened just down the road from where I'm standing now. Here's a closer look at the scene from Sky 5. The Christian County Sheriff's Office confirms the plane crashed on a person's property off of Sheridan Creek Road just after noon. This is northwest of Hopkinsville. Residents in the area heard the crash. The Beechcraft BE-36 aircraft is a small 8-passenger plane. Christian County Sheriff's deputies, the EMA, and coroner are all at the scene now. At this point, it's still unknown what caused the crash. Sheriff's deputies say the wreckage is spread out through a wooded area, and they even had to cut down some trees to get to the plane.
So it does present somewhat of a challenge. It was able to contain most of the crash into a relatively smaller area than it had it been an open field. So I would say the area right now is anywhere from probably 100 yards by 100 yards of debris that we're pouring through right now.
The NTSB and FAA will be assisting with this investigation. Officials are waiting on the FAA to arrive. The NTSB is scheduled to arrive at 9 tomorrow morning. Sheriff's deputies will be on the scene here most of the evening. Reporting live in Hopkinsville, Emily Luxon, News Channel 5.
Thanks, Emily. He's been charged with making and selling drugs, and now this Tullahoma City school band director has just resigned. Now, the FBI was at Martin McFarland's house on a child exploitation investigation when Tullahoma police found the marijuana.
A Wilson County teacher and coach has been indicted on sex crimes, and tonight Darren Plumley is out on bail. Just today, Plumley turned himself in at the sheriff's office. He was indicted by a grand jury. The charges include statutory rape and sexual battery by an authority figure. He worked at Mount Juliet High School as a special education teacher and assistant wrestling coach, but has now resigned. Tad Cummins, the teacher accused of taking a 15-year-old girl across state lines to have sex with her, appeared before a federal judge this afternoon. News Channel 5's Jonquil Newland was in the courtroom. And Jonquil, what kind of hearing was this?
Well, Carrie, this was both a preliminary and a detention hearing for Tad Cummins. Before the hearing started, however, Cummins walked into the courtroom with a grin on his face. He gave a thumbs up to two individuals sitting in the courtroom. We later learned those were his cousins. His father, as well as his two daughters, were also in the courtroom. His sister was called by the defense to testify. But before she was called up to testify, the judge heard from the U.S. government's witness, FBI Special Agent Utley Noble. He testified for more than an hour and detailed the timeline of Cummins' alleged road trip with a 15-year-old student. Noble says while in Colorado, Cummins bought a tablet to keep up with the news. From Colorado, they headed to Utah, Nevada, and then to Southern California, where they purchased a $1,500 kayak with the idea to head into Mexico via the water. After realizing that would not work, they headed north, where they wound up in Cecilville and eventually to the Black Bear commune, where they were asked to leave about 2 weeks later. Prosecutors worked to prove Cummins is a flight risk. Cummins' sister, Daphne Quinn, however, testified that if Cummins was released, he would live with their parents in Mount Pleasant, and he had no reason to flee. The judge, however, ruled Cummins would remain in custody until his trial at a later date.
On behalf of Mr. Cummins' family, we just want to express they are still very much in support of him. This is not saying that they condone the actions that have been alleged against him, but they still provide moral support, emotional support for him.
Now, this case will be bound over to a grand jury. We'll have more tonight at 6 o'clock. In the newsroom, I'm Jonquil Newland, News Channel 5.
There is new information tonight about the child who was shot inside an apartment in Antioch. It happened at the Chimney Top Apartments around 9:30 this morning. Metro Police tell us a 3-year-old boy accidentally shot himself in the foot. His injuries are not life-threatening. Police tell us a husband and wife are taking care of the child while his mom is in jail.
It will soon be tougher to get an abortion in Tennessee. This after Governor Haslam signed a new bill into law today. It's known as the 20-week abortion bill, and it requires a physician to assess the viability of a fetus after 20 weeks. If that fetus is determined to be viable, it will be illegal for a doctor to perform an abortion unless the mother's life is in danger. Abortion rights advocates lobbied hard against this new law, but were no match for the Republican supermajority.
All right, continuing coverage now and the fallout from the Jacques Cummins investigation. Yesterday, Officer Joshua Lippert was cleared of criminal charges in the shooting. But News Channel 5's Chris Conti shows us the investigation has put the district attorney at odds with Metro's police chief.
Both the Metro Police Department and the district attorney's office agree that Officer Lippert was justified in his shooting of Jacques Cummins. Chief Anderson and DA Funk agree that had Jacques Cummins simply complied with police, he might still be alive. Now, this is far from the first time the police chief and the district attorney have had different opinions on law enforcement incidents. But it is fair to say that this is the first time we've seen any kind of disagreement thrust into this kind of public spotlight. Here is where this very public division lies. District Attorney Glenn Funk says that the manner in which Metro completed their report creates a presumption of bias. They point to Officer Lippert being listed as a victim and also that the shooting was classified as a justified homicide. Metro, though, stands by that, saying that they are just following TBI guidelines.
They'll follow those guidelines until they're changed, and at this point I don't know that there's any necessity for them to be changed. Everything involving this incident has shown Officer Lippert to have done the right thing, and he followed policy and he was within the confines of the law.
Now, tonight, Officer Lippert remains on paid administrative duty. Police Chief Anderson will decide the fate of his employment once there is a review done by the Board of Force.
Chris, thank you. A West Nashville congregation is just devastated after their church was vandalized. News Channel 5's Kimberly Davis spoke with the pastor whose church now has a new $50,000 bill.
There has been a string of church burglaries the last few months, but police say this is the worst church break-in they've seen by far. And now this West Nashville church is trying to pick up the pieces. The First Baptist Church West Nashville was broken into sometime last week, but it wasn't until last Thursday that Pastor Jordan Ivy walked into the sanctuary to see it totally destroyed. Pastor Ivy tells us there is about $45,000 to $50,000 worth of damage. The criminals kicked in a door in the back of the church and began throwing chairs into windows, pulling down light fixtures, destroying ceilings, and even using drugs. This is the second time someone has broken into First Baptist, but this is the first time someone has vandalized the church. The pastor tells us when people value something, they tend to take good care of it. And this act shows that someone in the community didn't value the church.
This church, for some reason, didn't have the kind of value. As a pastor, I would be proud to know that the community, or anybody who lives in the community, I would want them to have.
Police are still looking for who is responsible for causing such destruction. But if you're interested in helping this church out, there is a GoFundMe account up. You can find that information